Supported Decision Making by me, Jonathan Gardner, and supported by Nancy Gardner. Now, here's a little bit about myself. I'm 20 years old, I'm a decision maker, self advocate, homeschool graduate, cancer survivor who happens to have autism, a council member of the Massachusetts Developmental Disability Council, an ambassador for Operation House Call, a Flutie Fellow for the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism, a co-chair for the Massachusetts Supported Decision Making Coalition. I like video games, pro wrestling, anime, and helping others. I have many different types of supports and supporters that help me live my best life to the fullest. A lot of people like me have a guardian. I don't. Instead, I use something called supported decision making. Supported decision making is an alternative to guardianship, where the person picks a group of people they trust to help them make the decisions. I am the decision maker in my life. I have used this supported decision making in my fight against cancer, my mental health, and in most aspects of my life today. And here's a few of them right down here. You can see some of them right there. Supported decision making, SDM, an act relative to authorizing supported decision making agreements for certain adults with disabilities. Here comes the numbers, people. I still get confused to this day with some of this stuff. HD dot 2339 SD dot 1172. Here are some of the champions of the bill. Representative Mike Finn, who I haven't met just yet. Representative Sean Garbely, who I have met on the bottom right, and Senator Joan Lovely, who is on the bottom left. Truly some of the champions of the bill. This bill allows certain adults, including those with disabilities, to maintain their rights, dignity, and independence by choosing trusted supporters to provide assistance making decisions about their lives. SDM is an alternative to guardianship where appropriate. Let me explain how I got here. When I was in my school years, the school district told me and my mom that I needed a full guardianship. This didn't feel right for us. My mom had found out about supported decision making, and we decided to try it in my life. Supported decision making was an amazing alternative for me instead of guardianship. I started by choosing my supporters. I decided on different people who would help me with different parts of my life. At first, I chose my mom, dad, my brother Eric, and my therapist, Mrs. Clifford, as my supporters. My supporters have evolved, and I have added others you can see below the message. Then came the cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer during the pandemic. Who would have thought? Had already chosen my supporters and set up supported decision making for myself. This ended up being super essential to help me make my own decisions while battling cancer. Fighting cancer has been one of the hardest journeys of my life, and I have been through a lot of hard journeys already. I am so thankful I was given the freedom to choose how I go about my treatments. Supported decision making makes me feel involved with my life. It provides me the choice to make when and how I was getting my cancer treatments. I was able to let my body and voice guide me with the supports from my mom and dad. I did not have many choices when it came to having cancer, but at least I was able to control when and how I got through it. Guardianship would have been worse than death for me, because I would have lost my choice. I fully trust my team, but I want to make choices for my own life. Without supported decision making, I would have not been able to fight cancer the way I needed to for my own mental health. I was doing chemotherapy and radiation at the same time for a long time. I was starting to break until I broke. After cooling down, I was able to put my faith in my mom as my support person for both my health and mental health to come up with a plan that worked the best for me. COVID did make supported decision making hard for me because of visitor restrictions. We had to advocate with the hospital so they would realize that my mom and dad were my support people as well as my parents. I needed them to be with me in appointments so they could support me with making decisions. I am advocating for this bill to become a law because it would mean other people wouldn't have to go through this. It would be easier for people using supported decision making to to explain to their doctors and others why they needed a supporter, and they would have a law to back them up. Now, whenever I go into an appointment of any kind, my doctors expect to see my mom too. They call us a Jonathan and Mama team. I want it to be like that from the start for anyone who is using supported decision making. 16 other states plus DC now have supported decision making. We are behind, people. Plus, advocates think the bill will save money overall because fewer people will use court time to get a guardianship. This law does not take away anything about guardianship. It just adds another option for people like me who don't need guardianship but do need some support. More options are always better, in my opinion. I am passionate and strongly believe that supported decision making should become law because it gives everyone a choice from freedom and to choose who supports them. Here's some more support pictures and supporters of mine.